Hello everyone, and welcome to part 2 of my bookshelf tour. In this part we will be focusing on the second bookshelf, which is my bookshelf full of fiction. This one is organized by paperback and hardback and then by size. So I'm going to start off with some books that I actually have to keep on top of the bookshelf. The Last Werewolf by Glenn Duncan, Tallulah Rising by Glenn Duncan, and By Blood We Live by Glenn Duncan. The Book of Enchantments by Patricia C. Reed, Private Life by Jane Smiley, The Crimson Petal and the White by MICHEL FABER, Revolutionary Road by Richard Yates, The Pursuit of Love and Love in a Cold Climate by Nancy Mitford, The Crazed by Ha Jin, Let the Great World Spin by Colin McCann, Atonement by Ian McEwan, The Circus in Winter by Kathy Day, The Emperor's Children by Claire Massoud, Embers by Sandor Marai, Elijah's Mermaid by Essie Fox, The Rathbones by Janice Clark, No One Is Here Except All of Us by Ramona Acebel, Sirius Blooms at Night by Shani Mutu, The Glass Demon by Helen Grant, Sometimes the Soul, Two Novellas of Sicily by Gioia Timpanelli, The Quick by Lauren Owen, The Spirit Cabinet by Paul Quarrington, Rivers of London by Ben Aronovich, The Air Affair by Jasper Ford, The Word Exchange by Elena Graydon, Daughters of the Witching Hill by Mary Sherratt, A Fine Balance by Rohinton Mystery, Quiet Dell by Jane Ann Phillips, History of a Pleasure Seeker by Richard Mason, Anil's Ghost by Michael Ondaatje, Bright Lines by Tanwi Nandini Islam, The Bellwether Revivals by Benjamin Wood, The Coffee Trader by David Liss, Aleph the Unseen by G. Willow Wilson, Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng, Dryland by Sarah Jaff, Sweet Dates in Basra by Jessica Gigi, The Monsters of Templeton by Lauren Groff, The Chocolate Money by Ashley Prentice Norton, The Storied Life of A.J. Fickery by Gabrielle Zevin, High Strung by Quinn Dalton, The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri, Stork Mountain by Miroslav Penkoff, City of Dark Magic by Magnus Flight, The Coast of Akron by Adrian Miller, and Compulsion by Martina Boone. On to the next shelf. The Library of Panopticon by Alexandria Nolan, I, Elizabeth by Rosalind Miles, A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray, Chasing the Devil's Tail, A Mystery of Storyville, New Orleans by David Fulmer, featuring Another Sticker from Hell, The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood, Look at Me by Jennifer Egan, That Mad Ache by Francois Sagan, translated by Douglas Hofstadter, and on the other side of that book is Translator Traitor, an essay on the pleasantly pervasive paradoxes of translation by Douglas Hofstadter. Bellman in Black by Diane Sutterfield, She's Come Undone by Wally Lamb, Night Film by Marisha Pessel, The Lake of Dead Languages by Carol Goodman, The Prestige by Christopher Priest, Stardust by Joseph Cannon, The Sparrow by Mary Doria Russell, Skippy Dies by Paul Murray, The Girl with Glass Feet by Ali Shaw, The Bad Girl by Mario Vargas Llosa, The 13th Tale by Diane Sutterfield, The Golem and the Genie by Helene Wecker, On Beauty by Zadie Smith, The Thinking Woman's Guide to Real Magic by Emily Croy Barker, An Atlas of Impossible Longing by Anuradha Roy, The Palace of Curiosities by Rosie Garland, The Year of the Gadfly by Jennifer Miller, All That Is Solid Melts into Air by Dara McKeon, Fearcombe Manor by Kate Reardon, Special Topics in Calamity Physics by Marisha Pessel, Goddess by Kelly Gardner, Bats of the Republic by Zachary Thomas Dodson, Blonde by Joyce Carol Oates. And then the last thing on this shelf is The Magician's Trilogy by Lev Grossman. You have The Magicians, The Magician King, and The Magician's Land. On to the next shelf. Gilead by Marilyn Robinson, Empress by Sean Saw, City of Savages by Lee Kelly, I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith, Dare Me by Megan Abbott, The Headmaster's Wife by Thomas Christopher Green, The Secret of Lost Things by Sheridan Hay, The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Audier, The Sunday Philosophy Club by Alexander McCall Smith, The Lake of Sorrows by Aaron Hart, In the Walled Gardens by Anahita Ferouz, The Case of the Missing Servant by Tarquin Hall, Almost Famous Women by Megan Mayhew Bergman, The Book of Fires by Jane Borradaile, Sea of Poppies by Amitav Ghosh, Bombay Ice by Leslie Forbes, Her Fearful Symmetry by Audrey Niffenegger, Too Bright to Hear, Too Loud to See by Julianne Gary, The Invention of Exile by Vanessa Manco, The Echo Chamber by Luke Williams, The Drowning People by Richard Mason, An Object of Beauty by Steve Martin, Lovers at the Chameleon Club, Paris 1932 by Francine Prose, The Heights by Peter Hedges, The Night Watch by Sarah Waters, The Great Glass Sea by Josh Weil, The River of No Return by B. Ridgway, The Wishmaker by Ali Sethi, A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness, Admission by Jean Hanf Korlitz, The Day the Falls Stood Still by Kathy Marie Buchanan. On to the next shelf. Ghosts Written by David Mitchell, Till the Well Runs Dry by Lauren Francis Sharma, Sunset and Sawdust by Joe R. Lansdale, The Body in the Bookcase by Catherine Hall Page, The Book of Madness and Cures by Regina O'Melveny, Consolation by Michael Redhill, People of the Book by Geraldine Brooks, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John Berendt, Bradstreet Gate by Robin Kerman, The Angel's Game by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, Five-Star Billionaire by Tosh Awe, The Book of Speculation by Erica Swyler, The Geographer's Library by John Fossman, The Ice Chorus by Sarah Stonich, The Sunlit Night by Rebecca Dinerstein, Petty Magic by Camille DeAngelis, Kingdom Beyond the Waves by Stephen Hunt, Romancing Miss Bronte by Juliet Gale, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke, A Proper Education for Girls by Elaine Zerollo, A Guide for the Perplexed by Dara Horn. Before I move on to the historical fiction dealing with Russia, I wanted to talk about a few books that either are too large to fit on the shelf or are just not fitting right now. The Unchangeable Spots of Leopards by Christopher Jansma, A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab, Witches and Warlocks, Tales of Black Magic, Old and New, selected by Marvin Kaye, The Best of Sisters in Crime, edited by Marilyn Wallace, London by Edward Rutherford, Alias Grace by Margaret Atwood, and The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton. Next, going on to the historical fiction dealing with Russia, beginning with The Enchantments by Catherine Harrison, Midnight in St. Petersburg by Venora Bennett, Russian Winter by Daphne Kalote, Sashenka by Simon Montefiore, The Yid by Paul Goldberg. On to the next shelf, but continuing on with the historical fiction dealing with Russia, The Romanov Bride by Robert Alexander, The True Memoirs of Little Kay by Adrian Sharp, The Tsarina's Daughter by Carolee Erickson, Forbidden Love in St. Petersburg by Mishka Ben David, The House of Special Purpose by John Boyne, Back to Moscow by Guillermo Radis, Ruska by Edward Rutherford, The Russian Dream Book of Color and Flight by Gina Oshner, Dreams of My Russian Summers by Andrei Makin, The Madonnas of Leningrad by Deborah Dean, The Kitchen Boy, A Novel of the Last Tsar by Robert Alexander. Now moving on to Russian literature, The Penguin Book of Russian Poetry, Everything Flows by Vasily Grossman, Russian and English versions of The Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov, One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, The Best Stories of Fyodor Dostoevsky, Anna Karenina by Lev Tolstoy, Yevgeny Onegin by Alexander Pushkin, The Annotated Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, 40 Stories by Anton Chekhov, The Overcoat and Other Tales of Good and Evil by Nikolai Gogol, 40 Rooms by Olga Grushin, St. Petersburg by Andrei Biely, The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky, Masha Regina by Vadim Leventhal, and Quiet Flows the Vodka, or When Pushkin Comes to Shove, The Curmudgeon's Guide to Russian Literature and Culture by Alicia Chudo. Apricot Jam and Other Stories by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, The Big Green Tent by Ludmila Utlitskaya, Lenin, the Novel by Alan Bryan, The Senility of Vladimir P. by Michael Honig, and Snow and May by Ksenia Melnyk. And then on to the very last shelf, which contains all of my classic books. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, illustrated by Elise Petullo, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, East of Eden by John Steinbeck, The Complete Poems of Emily Dickinson, edited by Thomas H. Johnson, The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton, Bride's Head Revisited by Evelyn Waugh, Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert, The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins, I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud and Other Poems You Half Remember from School, edited by Anna Sampson, The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, Appointment in Samara by John O'Hara, The Book of Laughter and Forgetting by Milan Kundera, Selected Poems of Robert Frost, Anne of Green Gables by Ellen Montgomery, and last but not least, The Mill on the Floss by George Eliot. Please let me know if you've read any of these books, heard about any of them, if any of them sound interesting to you. I'd love to chat with you in the comments section below. Have a good day, and I'll see you in the next part of the bookshelf tour. Thanks for watching.